What's up, internet? I'm Brian MacDuff, aka BMAC, and welcome to another video. And today, simply put, is quite literally a day 50 years in the making. 50 years since the original SM7 was introduced, and over 20 years since the last revision, we have a new SM7 microphone that I think is going to completely change the way that we use the SM7 in the creative process moving forward. This, my friends, is the Shure SM7db. First things first, I want to give a huge thank you and a shout out to Shure for actually sending over an SM7db for me to be able to check out. I think I'm one of the first in the world to actually be able to do so. So Shure, thank you, greatly appreciate you. But obviously, I don't think this video would be complete without using the SM7db as my audio source for the rest of this video, so I'm gonna do that right now. This is what the new Shure SM7db sounds like. And it's actually the same SM7B that you've known and loved for a while now, but now with a built-in preamp and technology licensed from Cloud. And the preamp system that's built in is tailored and tuned by Shure engineers specifically for the SM7db to provide the cleanest possible gain without altering the sound quality. But what does all this actually mean? Well, things might actually start to make more sense when we talk about the Shure SM7db design and how things look on the inside and outside of this brand new Shure microphone. On the outside, things look pretty similar, if not identical, to the SM7B, because we already know the real difference is what's going on the inside. Now with the SM7B, because it is an XLR-based microphone, you had to connect your SM7B via an XLR cable to an audio interface or a mixer. And then the audio interface or the mixer would then use its own preamplifier to boost the delicate sound signals coming from your SM7B to be able to be used for recording, streaming, or whatever else you're using your audio for. On the SM7B, if there's any drawback to it, is that it's a little gain hungry, especially on lower priced audio interfaces or mixers, meaning you would potentially have to crank up the gain pretty darn high on it in order to get the audio signals from the SM7B at the right levels to be able to use the microphone properly and to actually be able to use the audio from it. And in so doing, sometimes you would have to boost the gain so high to the point where you'd actually introduce a lot of white noise, which could be perceived as background hiss, because you're essentially raising the lower noise floor, which overall dirties the audio signal and can make your voice sound a little less isolated. For years now, many SM7B users have combined their SM7B microphone with a little something called a cloud lifter. A cloud lifter essentially being an external preamp for your SM7B from a company called Cloud that essentially boosts the gain coming from your microphone before it even enters your audio interface or your mixer. That would essentially give you a much cleaner gain boost, allowing you to not have to crank up the gain on your audio interface or mixer so high, thus not having to bring in that noise floor that we were just talking about, which would lessen the amount of white noise or background hiss that you would hear in the final audio recording. A cloud lifter really does work, but it is an additional investment and an additional configuration that you have to set up and think about whenever you're going about recording. But with all that in mind, that is exactly where the Shure SM7db comes in. What Shure has done here is they've taken the SM7B and essentially incorporated a preamp into the build itself, which then acts as a cloud lifter would, again, boosting the audio signals from the SM7dB before it even reaches your audio interface or your mixer cleanly with either 18 decibels or 28 decibels of clean or transparent gain, leaving that background noise floor hiss behind. I do quickly want to point out here that it is possible to actually bypass the preamp built into the SM7db if you want to do that, at which point the SM7db will act, sound, and work identically to that of the SM7B. But yes, the preamp is ultimately what the main difference is here. It's a built-in preamp in the SM7db, licensed and created in conjunction with Cloud to provide the best possible sound in a built-in preamp in an SM7B microphone, but with all that together, making it its own standalone SM7db microphone. And in case you're wondering, yes, you're still gonna see the return of the on-microphone EQ switch controls for that bass roll-off and mid-range emphasis for presence boost. So if you wanna be able to utilize these EQ adjustments straight out of the microphone, rather than having to do that in post or in an audio interface or a mixer, you can still do that, and they're still easier than ever to actually operate right on the backside of the SM7db itself. But while we're on the subject, let's take a minute here to demonstrate the performance of the Shure SM7db and what the difference is that this built-in preamp is actually making. And I figured the best way of actually demonstrating this for you here is to give you unprocessed raw audio straight from the SM7db with the bypass option, the plus 18 decibel preamp boost option, and then the 28 decibel preamp boost option so that hopefully you can hear the difference. Little disclaimer here, you're probably going to be able to best hear the difference if you put on a pair of headphones, and I am going to be adjusting the gain on my audio mixer between each setting so that we keep the levels where they need to be, but if you pay attention to that background hiss or that white noise we're talking about, that's where I think you'll really be able to tell the difference. But with that having been said, here we go. This is what the Shure SM7db sounds like when in the bypass mode. It's identical in design, sound, and performance to the SM7B when in this mode and with the built-in preamp turned off. This is what the Shure SM7db sounds like when in the plus 18 decibel transparent gain mode. It is getting 18 decibels of transparent gain from the built-in preamp that is now turned on. And finally, this is what the Shure SM7db sounds like when in the plus 28 decibel transparent gain mode. It is getting 28 decibels of transparent gain from the built-in preamp, which is still turned on. Now, hopefully, if you listen to all three of those examples, you would have been able to hear that background noise hiss we were talking about, lessening each time, or pretty much going completely away, as you went from bypass to plus 18, or from plus 18 to plus 28. Because that right there, that is the main purpose of this Shure SM7db. It's the same exact microphone you know and love in the SM7B, but now with a built-in preamp, so that you no longer have to go out and purchase a cloud lifter separately, hook that up, or even have to worry about any of that. Keep in mind, you still are going to need your audio interface or your mixer to provide phantom power to the SM7db in order to take advantage of that built-in preamp. Otherwise, it's just going to act as a passive SM7B would. But once you do that, you're going to be golden with either the plus 18 or plus 28 decibel transparent gain from that built-in preamp. But with all that having been said, here are my final thoughts on the Shure SM7db microphone and whether or not this new Shure microphone, 50 years in the making, was worth the wait. Short answer, absolutely. I think Shure did exactly what they should have done with this new microphone. There's an old adage that says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And as it relates to the SM7B itself, that's pretty much exactly what Shure did here with the SM7db. They're giving you the same SM7B performance that you know and love, while at the same time eliminating the need for you to go and buy an external preamp like the Cloud Lifter, because they've now incorporated that in, while at the same time saving you a little bit of cash in the process. And in case you couldn't tell, I'm loving this thing. And I think the name is pretty clever too. There were a lot of individuals out there who thought this thing was going to be called the SM7C, but I think Shure hit the nail on the head here with this one, with the name being the SM7db, because the name fits. And as always, if you guys want to check out the latest deals, promos, pricing, and information for the Shure SM7db cardioid dynamic microphone, be sure to check out my affiliate link, bmac.link/SM7db. Or of course, as always, there's going to be clickable links in the video description box below, as well as the comments section, so be sure to check those out. And with that having been said, this thing sounds so good. I feel like I need to go record a podcast now. It's always something I've wanted to do. Maybe now's the time. I will see you guys in my next video.